It's time to let go of being the observer. It may have been useful in the beginning of your journey, but for a complete awakening and identity shift, this identity as being the observer also has to be seen as a filter over the truth. And allow me to explain. Teachers, including myself, try to point others back to themselves by using concepts and sayings like, "You are not your thoughts, you are the observer of them." And it's true, you are the observer in a way, but the observer isn't a separate thing that's observing something. It's the only thing here. You see, when we hear, "You are the observer," you may not notice it, but the mind creates this imagination or gets this idea of what the observer is, or where the observer may be. It creates another identity as if the observer is a thing. For example, the mind may create this image of this thing called the observer being over here, and what it's observing to be over there. And most likely, the observer that you believe you are is coming from a personal standpoint, meaning when I say you are the observer, you may still be unconsciously believing that the person is observing. But even if you're saying, "No, I know it's not the person, it's consciousness," you still may be seeing consciousness as this thing when it's not. It's no thing, it's nothing, it can't be known, because it's what knows. Nobody knows what consciousness truly is. I don't know anything, and neither do you. No person, no mind, no ego can understand what you truly are. And in this video, I will take you through my direct experience so that you see what I truly mean by that. By the end of this video, you will know that it's possible for you right now because there is no future. And what the mind seeks for is already here, but it won't be found by the mind. It will be seen by you. So let's get back to the dropping of being the observer. I'll keep this as simple as I can. Hopefully you do too. There is no observer. There's just what's observed. There is no observer. There is just what's observed. What's observed is what it is. Don't reflect it back to a position or location and create this person who is observing something. Because there isn't one. Once again, there is no observer. There's just what's observed. It's that direct and simple. Sound is sound. There is no listener. Thought is thought. There is no thinker or observer of them. Sensations are sensations. There is no feeler of them. The activity of being the observer to those appearances is found directly in those appearances. For example, let's work with two senses. Right now, I want you to focus on the sense of hearing. If you see this directly, notice how there isn't actually a listener, but there is sound. The activity of listening is the sound itself. There isn't a someone here who's listening. The sound is listening to itself. It's as if these appearances have their own reality, and they are passing through consciousness like a movie. You are the screen, and these appearances are appearing on you. Now, let's focus on the visual field. This may be a little more challenging, but allow it to be simple. Experience what I'm about to point to. Any thought about it won't help you here. No expectation or understanding will help. Look around. It may feel like I am here observing what's out there, but there is no observer. There's just what's observed. When you just experience what's observed without adding an observer, it's as if you become space. It's like you completely disappear because the position of the observer you thought you were is gone. There is no longer a reflection that comes back to a specific location. There's just what's here. The seeing is sight itself. There's no longer a seer. There's just sight. If you haven't watched my most recent video about the senses, I'd recommend to do so because many people have told me something shifted after watching that. But that's basically what I'm talking about in that video. There is no listener, but there is sound. There is no feeler of feelings, but there is feelings. There is no seer, but there is sight. There is no observer, but there is what's observed. And you may ask, well, what's observing then? Nothing is. There isn't a thing that is observing. Have you realized you can't find the observer? I mean, that is what you are seeking for. Realize how you can't find it. Because consciousness is not a thing. It's not an object. Instead of calling consciousness, call it nothing. For now, nothing is observing. So if nothing is the one observing, how could creating the identity of an observer be the truth? Nothing has no identity. You have no identity, and I know how that sounds, but I'm trying to point you to a direct experience, not an understanding. So let's try looking at thoughts, because this is where identity is, identity with being separate, and the identity with being the separate observer is in the dreamlike quality of thoughts. A lot of people struggle with thought, and I truly believe it's because we are trying to take position as being the observer of them that is over here watching them. So experience this. There is no observer of thoughts, but there are thoughts. The one who claims to be the observer is a thought. The activity of observing a thought is found directly in the thought itself. There is nothing outside looking at it. It's just the thought itself. These thoughts are not reflecting back to something, not a person, not an observer. Thoughts are thinking you. You aren't thinking thoughts because there is no thinker. So when you are trying to observe your thoughts without identifying with them, you have to realize that your effort to become the observer is just another identity that thoughts are creating. You are the sky, and everything is just passing through you. Nothing is actually touching you, and you don't truly have a relationship with what's passing through because they don't actually exist. Clouds are a perfect comparison to everything, to every appearance, because things, this world, thoughts, sensations, the body, etc. Just like clouds, they can appear to be solid, but you can't really touch a cloud. It's almost transparent. You can go right through one. It's like it appears to exist, but it doesn't. Clouds are like dreams. They are very dreamlike. Everything in this reality that we call the world is dreamlike. It's not actually real. This is why I say you are already free from this world, because you really are. It's just that consciousness got so invested within this dream that it forgot it was a dream. I mean, place a headset on a baby for a couple years, and I promise it will believe that VR world is 100% real until they take the headset off. So, when the identity of being the observer drops away, this is where you can begin to experience the concept of oneness. And here is where we think wrong about oneness. It's not that you experience being the trees and the dog and other bodies. It's more so like everything is experienced as you don't go around saying, I am that, I am this. It's more so, that is me and this is me. Because what's appearing isn't actually real. The only thing here is me. And the me I'm referring to is not the body. The me I'm referring to is not of this world, because the world isn't real. Consciousness is. So instead of being this separate observer of the world, it begins to feel like everything you were observing is transparent and dreamlike, and all there is that's real is you. When you look at other bodies, you don't see who you think they are. You sense yourself in them. You sense yourself in everything and everywhere. Things don't feel like things anymore. When you rest within yourself as consciousness, meaning you become conscious that you are conscious and you stay in that experience, everything feels within you. You'll genuinely experience everything happening within you. When this is embodied, it's felt in the heart. That's where everything can feel like it's coming from. And this is how you begin to realize how this world is illusionary, because the solidity of the world becomes very transparent. So thoughts can still arise, pain can still arise, but it's appearing now just as those clouds. They may be appearing to block what you truly are in many ways, but now you're always aware of the nature of this reality, which is yourself, so they don't really stick. You are the nature of this, you're the source of it, and you're actually all there really is. So, how do you practice letting go of the observer? Well, it's simple. Experience not taking the position as being the observer, and allow appearances to appear as what they are without bringing these appearances back to the identity of the observer, because it's not there. Don't believe that the observer is over here and what's observed is over there. And when working with thoughts, don't create and buy into believing you are this distant observer of thoughts that's looking at thoughts. There is no observer of thoughts. There are just thoughts. The experience of being the observer that teachers are trying to point you to is not what you think it is at all. You can't imagine it. So let go of those imaginations. Realize there's imaginations, but there is no observer of them. I hope this helps. Let me know your experience with this in the comments.